Yes, assalamu alaikum everyone. Welcome to our session on Tazkiyah bil-Quran. We will be starting in about 5 to 10 seconds, inshallah. Okay, so alhamdulillah wa salatu salam ala rasulullah. For those of you who are connected with us on Zoom, welcome. And those of you who are connected with us on Facebook, we would like to welcome you too. Let's, as always, start with a review of what we did last week. As you know, we are going through the 30th juz of the Quran, and our focus is to get the blessings from the Quran, from the verses of the Quran that touch the heart. So last week we did Surah Al-Alaq, and here are the 4 key points that we made during that conversation. First of all, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed certain knowledge which is only available through revelation, and then made it possible for human beings to discover knowledge as well. So there's revealed knowledge and there's discovered knowledge. And learning both the revealed knowledge and discovered knowledge, so the revealed knowledge is wahi and discovered knowledge is what we call the sciences. Both of those, learning both of those is a responsibility for every Muslim. So we saw that in Surah Al-Alaq. The second thing is that knowledge is supposed to teach us humility. Okay. So knowledge is supposed to teach us humility, but only if we recognize that we will one day be held accountable both for what we do and for what we know. The third thing is every brave and generous person has great potential. We talked about Abu Jahl in that context, but such a person can destroy him or herself if they think that they're above guidance and that they're too good for guidance. And the last point that we made was that we will all go through points in our lives when we will be under pressure. But that is the point where we should consider making sujood, because that will be our only way out of it. Now, when we started the 30th juz, I want to remind you of the theme in the first few surahs that we did. So we did Surah Al-Takwir, Surah Al-Inshiqaq, Surah Al-Mutaffifin. The focus was the Day of Judgment. And then after that, we did Surah Al-A'la, Surah Al-Ghashiyah, Surah Al-Fajr, Surah Al-Balad, and the focus was inviting people towards Islam and towards wisdom, towards thinking with wisdom and making better choices in our lives, which will lead to a better afterlife. And then we did Surah Al-Shams, Surah Al-Layl, Surah Al-Duha, Surah Al-Sharh, very recently. And there the focus was the contrast between light and darkness, both inside of us and outside of us. And then what we're going through right now is Surah Deen, Surah Al-Alaq. Now we're doing, inshallah, Surah Al-Qadr today, and then we'll do Surah Al-Bayyinah next week. And here the focus is Nabuwa or prophethood and Risala, which is the message that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent through his prophets and messengers. And after this, inshallah, we will do Surah Al-Zilzal, Surah Al-Adiyah, Surah Al-Qari'ah, Surah Al-Takathur. And once again, the focus will be the Day of Judgment. This surah that we will do today was revealed in Mecca before the Hijrah. So it's called the Makki Surah. The context is that you guys are all very familiar with Surah Al-Qadr, by the way. So it's nothing new. It's a very short surah. Most of us are also aware of the context of what it means to pray on Laylatul Qadr. So I will not spend a lot of time on that, but I do want to talk about how this is relevant to us and why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is sending these words in Surah Al-Qadr to our heart. There's another surah in the Quran called Surah Al-Dukhan, the surah of the smoke, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the revelation of the Quran and how the revelation itself is special. And that sets the context of Surah Al-Qadr. So the surah goes like this. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم حاميم والكتاب المبين. Hamim, and then which are huruf muqatta'at, as you know. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala swears upon the book, which is a clear book. And as you know, and we've discussed this multiple times prior to this, whenever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala swears upon something, that means that thing is going to bear witness. And in this case, the book itself is going to bear witness. Which book is it? We all know this is the Quran. Wal Kitab al-Mubin, the clear book. Inna anzalnahu في ليلة مباركة إنا كنا منذرين. Indeed, Allah sent it down on a blessed night, on a night, Mubarak night, on a night with a lot of blessings. And inna kunna munzirin, for we, meaning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is using the plural we, the royal we, for we always warn against evil. This is setting the context for how the Quran was revealed. And then it continues, فِيهَا يُفْرَقُ كُلُّ أَمْرٍ حَكِيمٍ. What happens on that night? On that night, every matter of wisdom is ordained. That's a special night. What makes the night special is, first of all, Allah declared it special. And secondly, on that night, certain decisions are made which pertain to whatever is going to happen for the rest of the year. Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of course, knows the future. That knowledge is being revealed to the angels who are going to implement whatever is going to happen throughout the year. So the dua that we make during that night, that dua is listened to by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in Surah Al-Qadr, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us specifically what's happening around us. Let's talk about Surah Al-Qadr, which is our topic for today. The night of majesty. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر. In Surah Al-Dukhan, it's called Laylatul Mubarakah, the blessed night. Here it's called Laylatul Qadr, the night of glory or majesty, and there are a few other meanings of this word Qadr, destiny as well. So, Inna anzalnahu fi Laylatul Qadr. Indeed, it is we, meaning the plural we, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who, the royal we, I mean. This is the royal we, I apologize, the royal we. The King of Kings refers to himself as the royal we. It is we who sent this Quran down on the night of glory. It is Allah who sent it on the night of glory. Easily understood, nothing special here. But then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues, وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا لَيْلَةُ الْقَدْرِ. And what will make you realize what the night of glory is? The story behind this is that the Prophet ﷺ, when he discovered that Musa alayhi salam and the people before Nuh alayhi salam and Adam alayhi salam and all of these people, they had very long lives, and the people in their times used to live for very long periods of time. The Prophet ﷺ discovered also that the muttaqeen among them, the people who loved Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and wanted to have a close connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they would worship and they would fast for extended periods of time. For example, people in the time of Sayyidina Nuh, they lived for hundreds of years. There was in fact a story from Bani Israel as well, the people of Musa alayhi salam. There was a man who, not his life, we know that he worshipped as a close worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for 1,000 months. And if you add that up, it comes to about 83 point something years. And the Prophet ﷺ felt like those people did a lot of good. And he wanted his ummah to be able to do that kind of good. But he also knew that the average ages of people in his ummah are going to be shorter. This is actually a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, where he describes the ages of the people in his ummah. This is in Tirmidhi. The Prophet ﷺ said, أعمار أمتي ما بين 60 و70 وأقلهم من يجوز ذلك. That means the ages of the people in my ummah are going to be between 60 and 70, and a small number of them will exceed that, which means the majority of people will have ages between 60 and 70 years, which is shorter than the amount of time that man from Bani Israel just worshipped. So the Prophet felt that there was an inherent disadvantage in the potential to do good for those who really wanted to make the effort. So the Prophet ﷺ, of course, made dua, and then the Sahaba around him also, when they heard all of these things, they wished that they had more opportunity to do good in this world, because this world is a test, right? It's a short period of time. It's a test. So whatever you can achieve in this world is going to be worth something. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed what Laylatul Qadr is. Now you will understand the context of Laylatul Qadr, because وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا لَيْلَةُ الْقَدْرِ, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and it's actually being said to us in a very loving way, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the Quran in Laylatul Qadr. Sure, that makes it special. And then what do you know what Laylatul Qadr is? And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells, Laylatul Qadri khayrun min alfi shahr. It is better than 1,000 months. Yeah, sure, that man from Bani Israel worshipped for 1,000 months, but you guys are being given this gift for as long as you live. You will have this opportunity every year. If you really try hard to seek it, then every year you'll have the opportunity to do something which is better, not equal, better than 1,000 months. So when you understand this context, you realize that the tone in saying وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا لَيْلَةُ الْقَدْرِ is a tone of the affection and the love and the mercy that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has for the ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This word qadr, I mentioned that it means destiny. It can also mean glory or power. And of course, it can mean all of these things. Another meaning of Al-Qadr is to be constricted or constrained. And the reason is that, as we'll see, Tanazzalul Malaika, the angels descend on this night, and they descend in such large quantities. As you know, the angels are very large in quantity, right? There's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ about the heavens. أطت السماء وحق لها أن تط, which means the heavens creak, and it is deserving for them that they creak. And why? Because there is no spot in the heavens except there is an angel which is worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So there are lots and lots of angels. And on the night of Qadr, large numbers of angels descend. And we'll see that in a moment. So Qadr also means this constrictedness, because they're jam-packed. There's so many angels, the place is jam-packed. And as angels come, we'll see mercy also comes. And I had also mentioned that another meaning is destiny, because the destiny of the coming year is revealed on this night. So Laylatul Qadr khayrun min alfi shahr. We said it's better than 1,000 months. You can technically live and worship many 83 years of worship throughout your life if we really put in the effort for that. When the Prophet ﷺ used to talk about Ramadan, in fact, the first khutbah that he gave in Ramadan, here's how he introduced it. He said, "A blessed month has come to you. In it is a night which is better than 1,000 months." The way he phrased it, it almost sounds like Ramadan was getting his privilege because of Laylatul Qadr. Of course, Ramadan has many blessings, but Laylatul Qadr is so special and so powerful. Notice also that it comes towards the end of Ramadan. And this was not always the case, because the Prophet ﷺ and the Sahaba, they used to not know when Laylatul Qadr was in Ramadan. In the beginning, they didn't know that. So there's an interesting narration by a tabi'i, and you guys know what tabi'i is, right? The people who did not get to meet the Prophet ﷺ, but they got to meet the Sahaba. So this tabi'i, his name was Abu Salama bin Abdul Rahman. If he was a tabi'i, and he was a great scholar in Medina, and his name was Abu Salama bin Abdul Rahman, can someone guess and tell me in the chat box, chat window, who his father might be? His name was Abu Salama, the son of Abdul Rahman. Can someone take a guess as to who his father might have been? Go ahead, give it a shot. In the meanwhile, I'll tell you what the story is. So Abu Salama bin Abdul Rahman, he narrates that he wanted to get some knowledge. So he met many of the Sahaba. And one time he asked one of the Sahaba, whose name is Abu Sa'id al-Khudri. So he asked him to give him some time so they would walk together and he could ask him some questions about Laylatul Qadr. In the meanwhile, I'm waiting if somebody could tell me whose son Abu Salama was. Abu Salama, the son of Abdul Rahman. Which Abdul Rahman is it? Can someone just type it into the chat window? So anyway, Abu Salama, who was one of the greatest scholars of Medina, who learned from many Sahaba, that's right, Abdul Rahman bin Rauf, who was one of the 10 people promised paradise, Ashara Mubashara, one of the 10. And he was also one of the richest businessmen among the Sahaba. And I want you to put the two together, which is he was one of the richest businessmen, among the Sahaba. He was so rich that sometimes when caravans would arrive in Medina, his caravans, which he owned everything in that caravan, people in Medina would feel the earth shake because of the number of animals that would arrive. He was such a rich businessman. And one time, our mother Aisha, she asked, what is this shaking? And they said, oh, this is the caravan of Abdurrahman bin Auf. And she said, yes, I heard the Prophet say that he will have accountability because though he's a great man, but because he was given so much, he will be held accountable for it. And Abdurrahman bin Auf, when he heard that, he gave all of his, the entire caravan in charity. People of Medina just received everything for free. All of it, he gave it in charity. That's the way he was. And then notice that his son became one of the greatest scholars of Medina. That's the kind of family that the Sahaba would have. So one of the Ashar Mubashara, one of the richest businessmen, and his son was one of the greatest scholars of Medina. Anyway, so this man, Abu Salama, the son is the one we're talking about. He decided to ask Abu Sa'id al-Khudri. He said, I wanted to find out from you about the time that you spent with the Prophet ﷺ, and looking for, Laylatul Qadr. What were you like, and were the Sahaba like? So Abu Sa'id al-Khudri then said that it was during Ramadan, and they sat for i'tikaf. And normally, in our time, we sit for i'tikaf usually in the last 10 days. But this is before they knew to look for Laylatul Qadr in the last 10 days. So they were sitting for i'tikaf, and they sat in the middle 10 days, which is fast number 11 through end of fast number 20. So that's how they sat for i'tikaf. They sat for i'tikaf, and then the i'tikaf finished, and then they were hoping, they wanted to make dua that that perhaps they achieved Laylat al-Qadr. But after a couple of days, the Prophet ﷺ then announced that whoever sat for i'tikaf, come back to the masjid. So they came back to the masjid, and they pitched their tents. And now everyone's back in the masjid, and they are sitting in i'tikaf again, because the Prophet ﷺ had now been told to look for it in the last 10 nights. In fact, he had seen a dream. And in his dream, he had seen himself making sujood in earth and water. It was muddy, which can indicate to mean in a masjid of that time that it was raining. It was a rainy night. And so they started praying with the Prophet ﷺ, and Abu Sa'id said it was the 23rd night. And we looked up, and there was no cloud in the sky. And we were thinking, okay, the Prophet ﷺ saw this dream. He's a prophet, so his dreams are true. We're just, waiting to see which night is going to rain on. And then he said there was nothing when we looked up in the sky until we saw a cloud on top of us, and it started raining. And then the Prophet ﷺ, recited in the prayer, and afterwards he made sujood, and he got, and then afterwards the Prophet ﷺ got up, and the Sahaba saw mud on his forehead like this. So the dream came true, and it was the 23rd night. Now, some of you might be wondering, well, I thought it was the 27th. And then some of you might have heard, for example, one of my teachers, it was his opinion that it's the 21st. So which one is it? We'll talk about that in a moment. But more importantly, the Prophet ﷺ told us to look for it in the last 10 nights. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us this opportunity to get the benefit of something which is better than 1,000 months, obviously it's not going to fall in our laps. It was almost about to, though. One time the Prophet ﷺ came out, and he saw two people among his companions. And companions were all kinds of levels, okay? There were people who were really close to him, who used to learn from him regularly, and they were very high status in the sense that they worked really hard in their Islam. And then there were others who had just become Muslim, and they were still learning. So he saw two people fighting with each other, arguing loudly. When I say fighting, they were arguing with each other aloud, which is something which is not good, particularly not good to do in a masjid. And they were doing that, and the Prophet came out, and he said, I came out because Allah told me which night Laylatul Qadr is. And I came out to tell you, and then it seems Allah has taken that memory away from me, because he forgot, it left his mind. He didn't know which night it was anymore. And then the Prophet said, Asa an yakuna khayra. that means perhaps it is better. And really, if you think about it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, all-knowing, and it is better. If it happened like that, it is better. But in that was a lesson to not argue and to not get into quarrels, because it takes away blessings. When we argue and debate in an argumentative, loud kind of way with our fellow Muslims, it takes the blessings away. So we have to be careful. And even if we think we're in the right and the other person is in the wrong, be careful about arguing. Just calm down, give in, just relax, because otherwise it will take the blessings away. But coming back to why it might be better, think about it. Tell me, if we knew exactly which night Laylatul Qadr was, suppose we knew exactly, let's say for a moment, that it's the 27th night, and that's it, everyone knows, and there's no other night that could be Laylatul Qadr, it's only the 27th. Tell me what you think Ramadan would look like. Go ahead and type it in the chat window. What do you think Ramadan would look like for us? Think about the reality of human beings and how we act and how we try to take shortcuts. And what are we likely to do if we knew exactly which night it was going to be? So go ahead, I'll let you think about that. In the meanwhile, I'm going to talk to you about the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes in his words how the angels descend, and especially specifies Jibreel alayhi salam separately. There would be less striving generally. Yeah, that's right. Most likely we will have, suppose it was the 27th, that we knew it was absolutely the 27th. Everyone would show up on the 27th and hope that whatever they do on the 27th would get everything else forgiven for the rest of the year. What happens in reality is that people strive, and they strive through all of Ramadan, and they build it up, and throughout Ramadan, they're kind of building it up to the point where in the last 10 nights, you see people trying harder, and then it gets to the 27th, and yeah, sure, some people do try extra on the 27th, because there is a hadith, by the way, which indicates that it could be on the 27th. We're not sure about that. And by the way, a very strong opinion among the ulama is that the Laylatul Qadr varies by the year. So in some years it's on one night, and other years it's on another night. That's a very strong opinion among the ulama. But people keep striving, and yeah, so like our sister says, that way we don't end up being lazy. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rewards the effort, isn't it? Islam is like that. It's not the outcome, it's the effort that counts. So people continue to make the effort. And now notice that the surah says, تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها بإذن ربهم من كل أمر. That means on this night, the angels descend and the Holy Spirit, Jibreel alayhi salam, descends. Jibreel alayhi salam is mentioned separately. Can anyone think of the reason for that? He's an angel, like the other angels. Is there something else mentioned in the Quran that indicates to us that there's something different about Jibreel alayhi salam? Go ahead, think about it and give me your response. In the meanwhile, I'll continue. فِيهَا بِإِذْنِ رَبِّهِمْ مِنْ كُلِّ أَمْرٍ. For every decreed matter. Because as I mentioned, the plan for next year, the destiny for next year, is revealed to the angels. And of course, it is their job then to implement it. But the next word is important, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Salamun hiya. Salamun hiya. It is peace. Salamun hiya. The angels descend. Actually, the presence of angels is an indication that we will have a feeling of peace. And what are the times when the angels come? Whenever we're making dhikr. So right now, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us and bless us with this. We are talking about the kalam, the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we seek this blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that angels may descend upon us, because they come to gatherings where knowledge of Islam, the knowledge that revealed knowledge from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is being shared. Similarly, whenever you're making dhikr, the angels descend. Whenever you're trying to do something good, the angels descend. Angels descend, and that's how we feel that peace inside of our hearts. Salamun hiya. On that night, it is peace, hatta matla' al-fajr, until the opening up of dawn, until the breaking of dawn. Something interesting about this word here, salamun here. A few years ago, there was this, my question was, why is Jibreel alayhi salam mentioned separately from the angels, because it says تنزل الملائكة والروح. Ar-Ruh, in this case, is Jibreel alayhi salam. He's mentioned separately, even though he's also an angel. It doesn't just say تنزل الملائكة, it says تنزل الملائكة والروح. Why is Jibreel alayhi salam mentioned separately? That was my question. Okay, coming back to the thing I was sharing with you guys. Salamun here, the word here over here, it is all peace. So here is it is. That's what it means. Someone shared something online and it went viral. And basically what he said was, I know that Laylatul Qadr is the 27th night, and I know it for sure. How do I know that? Because if you count the words in the Quran, then in Laylatul Qadr, Surah Al-Qadr, if you count the words, then the 27th word is here. Because the 27th word is here, and Salamun here, and that's why it's the 27th night. So somebody came up with that and it went viral. Well, whoever that smart guy was didn't realize that he wasn't the first one to come up with this. So I want to share with you something that happened in the time of, this is about the 4th century of Hijrah in Spain. There was a scholar by the name of Ibn Hazm al-Andalusi. Maybe you've heard of him. He was from Spain. Ibn Hazm. He was a Spaniard Muslim scholar at the time when Muslims ruled Spain. So he said that somebody from his region also declared that it is the 27th night, and he provided that as evidence. And I'll come to your responses in a moment about Jibreel alayhi salam in just a moment. Let me just complete the story. So Ibn Hazm said, I'm narrating from Ibn Hazm, he said, and of the bizarre whisperings of shaitan is that of, and he mentioned the person's name. I don't like to mention people's names, so I'll just leave it because of the way, because the person obviously made a mistake. Who presumed that he discovered Laylatul Qadr because the 27th word of Surah Al-Qadr is here. To which I say, this is Ibn Hazm saying, it is truly mandatory for anyone who believes this to be entered into a hospital and to be treated for mental illness. He's saying this in the year 456 after Hijri, which is about the 12th century in the Christian era. 13th century of the Christian era. So he says to be entered into a hospital and be treated for mental illness, and we seek Allah's refuge from such foolishness. All that is needed to refute such claims is to point out that this person has claimed to have knowledge that seems to have passed over the Prophet ﷺ himself. So you know, and the Prophet ﷺ didn't know? Anytime some idea like that comes to you, think twice. That's shaitan talking to you. And the companions. So the companions also didn't think through this. And in fact, to even challenge the divine wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in concealing the Laylatul Qadr from the minds of men. So folks, every time you see something go viral like that, please think twice. Now, coming back to why Jibreel Islam is mentioned separately, he's the leader of the angels. Yes, that is true. He comes only for special occasions. That is actually also very true. And then Jibreel Islam's connection with the Quran, sure, yeah, that could have some relevance. That every other will come among him. I didn't quite get that. Okay, he leads the angels, or to show the importance of this night, that even the leader of the angels descends, who stopped coming after the Prophet ﷺ. Yeah, sure. So all of that is relevant. In fact, in the Quran, so you guys are right. In the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in Surah An-Najm an incident that took place to assuage the effect that the debates that the Quraysh would have with the Prophet ﷺ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed Surah An-Najm. And in that surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala defends the Prophet ﷺ and defends Jibreel alayhi salam as well. Because what were the Quraysh saying? They were saying, oh, this person says, the Prophet ﷺ, he says that an angel comes to him who's not human. This angel comes to him and tells him all of these wonderful words that he says. How can that be? That means this person is not right in the head. And in Surah An-Najm, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes Jibreel alayhi salam in a very special way, very different from the other angels. Surah An-Najm goes like this. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وَالنَّجْمِ إِذَا هَوَى by the stars when they fade away مَا ضَلَّ صَاحِبُكُمْ وَمَا غَوَى your fellow man, which is the Prophet neither misguided nor has he gone astray. وَمَا يَنْطِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَى nor does he speak of his own whims. He doesn't come up with it on his own. إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَى it is only a revelation sent down to him. عَلَّمَهُ شَدِيدُ الْقُوَى he has been taught by the angel who is of the angel of the mighty powerful ذُو مِرَّةٍ فَاسْتَوَى and great perfection who once rose to his true form. So when the Prophet ﷺ in Surah Al-Alaq, we talked about this, when he first revealed the revelation, he saw Jibreel alayhi salam in his original form in the cave somehow, we don't understand. But afterwards, when the revelation stopped coming, the Prophet ﷺ felt very depressed. He went outside and to relieve him of his depression before the wahi started again, Jibreel alayhi salam appeared to him on the horizon in his true form, and he was huge. He filled the horizon with all of his wings, and he filled the horizon. So the Prophet ﷺ saw him in his true form. That is what is being mentioned in Surah An-Najm, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala specifies Jibreel alayhi salam as the leader of the angels, and it is a really special occasion because of which Jibreel alayhi salam himself comes down. That, my brothers and sisters, is Laylatul Qadr, which is a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to mankind, and especially to the ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So now, by the way, let me just complete that one. When the Prophet saw Jibreel alayhi salam, he was looking at him and he couldn't turn his eyes away. It was such an amazing sight because initially he was not looking up, and he heard, Ya Muhammad, and he looked around, he couldn't see anyone until he kind of looked up and he saw Jibreel alayhi salam and he was shocked. And in that shock, he kept looking and he kept looking until the evening, until our mother Khadija got worried about him. So she sent some people to go look for him. And they couldn't find the Prophet ﷺ. They went and came back, and the Prophet ﷺ came back, and he was shivering because he had seen Jibreel alayhi salam in his form. And he said, dathiruni, cover me. And that is when, Ya ayyuhal mudathir, the verses were revealed. Oh, you who is covered up. Qum fa'anzir, stand up and warn. And that was when the Prophet ﷺ became a messenger, a Rasul, sent to mankind. That happened right after he saw Jibreel alayhi salam in his original form, as we just saw. Now, what are the lessons that we get from Surah Al-Qadr? Firstly, in Allah's majesty, He subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed the Prophet ﷺ with this night as a gift for those in his ummah who are willing to try. It's not going to come to us automatically. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes things really easy, facilitates it, makes it really easy, but it doesn't fall in our lap. We have to reach out and get the fruit from the tree. It will not fall in our lap automatically, number one. Number two, the angels, and particularly Jibreel alayhi salam, descends on that night, and in this night is peace. And frankly, those of you who have tried hard, I'm sure everyone has, but you will all recognize that in the last 10 nights when you are trying, there are times when you kind of feel something really special. And maybe any particular night, maybe any particular odd night, but you feel something special and it kind of clicks, and that peace is what we're talking about here. Thirdly, fighting and arguing with fellow Muslims takes the blessings away. And if somebody else does it to you, be the better person. Be the better person by lowering yourself. Because the Prophet ﷺ told us, Man tawada'a rafa'ahu Allah. And he actually he moved his hands like this. He said, Man tawada'a rafa'ahu Allah. You know, the hadith, when it's narrated, it's not just words. Sometimes along with the hadith comes the actual action. So when narrating the hadith, it is done together. So whoever lowers himself, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raises him. Which means that if somebody gets into an argument with you and it becomes an issue of ego where you're trying to prove you're right, and let's say you know that you're right, but it turns into an argument where voices are raised, be the better person. Let the other person win. Try to look for another opportunity when you might help them get it right if that's necessary. Otherwise, just let it be. Relax, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves a person who is hayyin layyin, who is lenient, easygoing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves a person like that. Do we not want that? So this is kind of like a reminder for us. The last thing, not knowing which night it is a blessing for the ummah. As always, I will upload the homework on the group. This time it's Qari Abdul Basit Abdul Samad, the late one, and he's reciting Surah Al-Qadr. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept from me and from all of you, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the opportunity to get to the next Ramadan, because the Sahaba, it was their habit, when Ramadan was over, they would keep making dua for the following 6 months. Oh Allah, please accept my Ramadan, please accept my Ramadan. And then they would start making dua after that. Oh Allah, please help me get to the next Ramadan. Help me get to the next Ramadan. So from one Laylatul Qadr to the next Laylatul Qadr, that's how we should be as well. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the opportunity to, for our Laylatul Qadr last time, from last Ramadan, to be accepted, and to help us get to next Laylatul Qadr, and to help us get close to Him. Inshallah, I will see you guys next Saturday at 5 p.m. Assalamu alaikum.